And then I'm gonna just share it in the group and everything.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty, so hey guys, happy Monday. Welcome to the Slegos interview series. I am so excited to be back here with you guys with a pop-up season. Just giving some people a little bit of time to hop into the broadcast. If you are new to us, welcome. My name is Felicia. I am the founder of Seek God Slegos, and we help the millennial woman to really enhance her spiritual, economic, emotional, and physical health. So I'm super excited about the new direction that we are taking this year. And like I said, welcome to the Slay Goals interview series. We have an amazing guest today, Miss Canden Webb. How are you?
Hey, girl. I'm doing really, really good. One day at a time,
Right, for sure, especially during COVID and all the craziness that's happening in the world. Hey, Summer,
Yeah.
how are you? Thank you for tuning in. So just to give you guys a little bit of backdrop, the Slay Goals interview series is really just a means of inspiration for you all. Like, we all are on our own different faith journeys, and sometimes we get discouraged, sometimes we may feel like giving up, or sometimes we may just feel like we're alone in what it is we're doing. And I believe that when we hear the stories of other women like us, other women of faith, that kind of gives us inspiration to continue on in our own journey. So my hope is that through these next 6 interviews in the rest of May, that wherever you are in your journey, you'll be inspired to keep going and that you won't give up. So I'm super excited about our interview tonight. I'm going to read a little bit of Candens Bio just so you can have a little bit of a backdrop of who she is, but she's really going to share with us who she is, and we'll get into the conversation.
Yeah.
So
Hey, guys. If you're listening and watching, hey, y'all. And shout out to Seek God's Legos on the mission tip. That's a beautiful, beautiful vision that you guys have. And I think it's definitely needed. So,
thank you, thank you. And it's really, honestly, it's a new mission. That kind of, I was just seeking God in prayer during our quarantine time, and He's like, this, focus on these things. So I'm
mhm.
like, okay, I'm just trying to be in the season of quick obedience. So I said, okay, this is what we're going to do now. And so I'm super excited about that direction. So let me read a little bit of your bio, and then we'll hop right in. So Canden Webb, she's an author and the CEO of Beautiful Minds Entertainment, which is an arts and entertainment resource company in Washington, D.C. She's an avid writer and spoken word artist. She's been doing this for 10 plus years and is a two-time third place winner of Busboys and Poets 11th Hour Slam and the longtime featured poet of I Am Worth the Wait Revolution, which is a faith based organization encouraging abstinence in teens and young adults. She has performed all over the US. Canden's also the author of 3 literary works, and her message is one of unwavering hope, faith, and modern day creativity without compromise, which I absolutely love that last statement. And
Thank
so,
you.
yes,
And
I
it's
love
always
it.
really weird when people read your bio, but
Right.
basically all of that, y'all, just to say, I be writing and I be trying to influence the culture for Christ. Yeah.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I know when you do hear your bio or you read your bio, you know, it's put together to sound like a bio, but behind the bio, behind what people might see on social media or what people might think they know about you, who is Canden Webb?
You know what? I really feel like there is so much to a person that you don't really get to see. And so my goal is to allow people to see that um, like a lot of people in the world. One, I'm a woman. I'm a woman of faith, and I'm a single woman, which I rep singles all day because I know how it is, especially in this quarantine. It can get really real, and
Listen,
I think that that's an important community to represent. And I'm also a business owner and a CEO, so a creative, just a lot of different things. But I think most of all, I'm a millennial woman figuring out what I like, how I like it.
uh-oh, I think
And I'm
her.
sorry, I think someone was trying to call me. Did I lose? Did I lose you
Okay, you're
guys?
back. You're back.
Oh, okay, I think I'm back. Okay. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm logging in from my, technology. Everything's ringing. Someone tried to call me. But I think most of all, at the core, I'm just a person who really has identified what my purpose is, where I'm going, how I can help people. And really, I'm still even learning and evolving every day, So it's a beautiful thing. But I like to say that I represent the entrepreneurs, the people who are searching and seeking for their purpose, and also millennial singles. So that's the main probably communities that I speak the most to.
Yes, and we're going to talk about the whole singles thing in a minute because it's always a
Oh,
hot
okay. Let me
topic.
see. I can't hear you anymore. Hang
Oh, you
on.
can't hear me?
Let me
Hold
make
on. Let
sure.
me pop you
The
out and I'll
volume
pop
is
you
still
back in.
intact.
Hold on. Y'all, technology. Can you hear me now? Oh, unmute. Can you hear me
You
now?
don't have me muted, right?
No. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Okay. Is it better now? Can I say something?
Can you hear me now? I can hear you.
No, I can't hear you.
No. So log out and then log back in. So just log out of the whole thing. Wait, let me 1 second. All right. What about now? Can you hear me?
Oh, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you. Yeah.
Yay. Yo, technology is just not trying to work today, but it's we're gonna get through this interview. So
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
you talked about purpose and identifying your purpose. So what did that process really look like for you? Because I think that's something that the word purpose, it just sounds so intangible and a lot of people struggle with it. So for you, what did that journey look like of you trying to find your purpose, and what did it look like for you over the years?
You know what? That's such a good question. I feel like I agree with you. A lot of people are like, that's so vague. Like, what even is it? I
Yeah.
think it's just what you, where you want to put your hand in and make a difference in the world. Honestly, that's a really good way of just kind of making it more, a little bit more, reachable. And for me,
Hmm.
the process of finding that was just, hey, what do I enjoy doing that I feel like will be also equally impactful in another life? So a good way of me kind of deciding what that was is that God along the way, he definitely gives you, he drops you signs.
Hmm.
He drops you like opportunities. He drops you people to come and say something to you, and they will confirm what he's already said to you. So I think it's really, really important if you want to find your purpose, and maybe you've been asking for a minute, like, what is my purpose? I really can't see it. I think it's super important to get into really quiet time and really read. I know this is like, okay, what? But really get into quiet time with before God is very important so that he can speak to you. And it's not like a scary, spooky thing. It's more so just like standing still enough without all the distractions to really hear one, what he's saying, and then to pay attention to the dots. It's like life is a series of connecting the dots. And so I really feel like, listening to what you're good at and what you enjoy doing. And not only that, but what makes the most impact for people. So if, I'm a writer, but that's not everybody's story.
Right.
Everyone's not a writer, but you may be really, really good at, I don't know, knitting. And people
Hmm.
are like, what does that have to do with anything? But you could literally make dolls. I know this company that makes dolls and they just knit dolls. And that company has blown up exponentially because they were able to fulfill a niche doing something that they already like to do, or a talent that they had been able to develop along the way. So I think your purpose is whatever you identify with that can be useful in society. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you said in trying to find it, get into that quiet place with God. And I think for many of us, this quarantine time has really forced us to do that. I know it did for me because we're always so busy. We always have a packed schedule. And sometimes, I know I've been guilty of it, just hopping up out of bed before I even get quiet time with God because you have all this stuff that you do, you overslept, all these things. It's
Yeah.
like when you really take the time to sit and get quiet with God, you will be surprised at what He will begin to reveal to you and show you. And the more you do it, the more you're able to really hear His voice. Because sometimes
Hmm.
we have so many other voices that are drowning His out, but I just
Right.
love
And
that you said it.
let's not make it super deep because we feel a lot of guilt sometimes about like, did I do this today? Did I do this? But like literally 10 minutes before you go to sleep, 20 minutes when you wake up throughout the day, just being like, hey, like, let me take some time. Let me actually spend a day off of social media and see,
Mhm.
it does not have to be deep. It does not have to be you in hours feeling guilty because you didn't. It just needs to be some times and moments of stillness where you don't have a million things
Right.
occupying your attention where you can really hear.
Yeah. And that's really it's just building a relationship. We do it with people,
Yes.
we spend quality time with people. And so it's the same way with God. So I definitely love that you
Exactly.
said that. I see Leia joined. Hey Leia, good to see you. So let's talk about um you've been doing writing and artistry for 10 years. Now, for some people that may seem like a long time, 10 plus years. That might seem like a long time to be doing something. So how did you even know that this was something you were gifted in, and how did you just maintain that gift?
I think one, people told me that they appreciated and that they wanted more. And then honestly, I just Nike'd it. I just did it. Like sometimes you're not going to be good at things initially. When I first started out, when I did my first poem, I wasn't great. I mean, let's just be real. Like I was shaking, I was trembling like a leaf, because it wasn't something I was used to doing. Even when I take on a new kind of thing now, it is about consistency and practicing.
Mm,
It's not about like how good you are to start. So if there's something that you feel like you want to say and there's a way that you want to say it and you begin to do that thing or practice that thing or write it out or whatever, and you're not amazing at first, like definitely just don't shut it down. Give it a minute. I would just say give it a minute so that you can see whether or not it is something that you can grow in. I had the fortunate experience of happening a poem, spoken word, and poetry and performance poetry when I lived back in LA. I'm from Cali, so I'm a West Coast girl,
okay.
and I used to go to this joint called the Lounge, and they used to do performance poetry. And this was back in the day. I don't even think maybe Def Jam poetry was out yet. I don't know. I don't think Def Jam poetry was back out. And I loved it so much. It resonated with something that was already inside of me, even though I had never seen it before. So I just
Mm,
began to do it. It was a way that I used to express myself. And God ultimately, I was a church girl, so I was already in church. And then I had this one time where they were like, "Hey, we want you to write." Be part of the seven last words for Easter. They do that in the Kojic church,
right.
seven last words, and some other denominations too. And I just did. And I figured out that I was just good at it. I figured out that it was something that like I could definitely grow in, and I began to have a love for it. And then opportunities came, and I went after some of them. I mean, I was connected with some people at Passion for Christ Ministries. God gave me a poem literally in my sleep, and
Wow.
I just took it to them. But see, this is the thing people don't understand. It's a meetup of your effort and God's provision for you. It's not just like God's going to bring it to you. It's like I had to submit. I had to go and walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I wrote this poem for you guys. I don't know why God gave me a poem for y'all, but here's the poem." Otherwise, they wouldn't have known that it was there. And
Right.
so I think it's a good balance of like you being able to see and utilize the gift, and also but knowing that God provides the opportunities, he shows you the things to go after, and then you could always check with him to make sure that that's what he's saying.
I love that. And it just kind of reiterates the point that there's some action required on our part. Like everything is not just going to
Absolutely.
be like God dropping stuff out of the sky. Like, no, you have to go do your part. He can reveal things to you, He can open up doors for you. But if you don't walk through that door, then it's
Right.
like you miss the opportunity. So
Come on.
I love that you said that. And then
Walk through the
you
door,
yeah,
y'all.
walk through the
Walk
door. He'll open the door, but are you going to walk through it? That's so
Mm-hmm.
good. And then you mentioned when you first started, you weren't necessarily good at it. And I think that is so important. You said just don't immediately shut it down, because I think sometimes when we're starting businesses or we start ministries, whatever we feel like God has called us to, if we don't see these immediate results or this immediate success that we have in our mind, we're like, oh no, this isn't it. And
Yeah.
just because of the culture that we're in, we're in a microwave society and everything is just like now, when really some things just take some time to develop. And so whatever it is that God has placed on your heart, don't give up on it. Give it some time and remain consistent in it. I think that is such an important message.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that.
Yeah, and I identify with those people because I am that microwave personality. Like,
Yeah,
where
I
is
am
it?
too.
The vision I got, why is not it happening? What's going on, Lord? And sometimes there's a lesson in the process. So yeah, definitely keep
Absolutely.
going.
So now talk to us about Beautiful Minds Entertainment. What exactly do you do? How did you even come up with this business
Yeah.
idea? And what are some of your services? Just tell us more about it.
You know what? That's another area where um, I just kind of step out on faith and wanted to do what I wanted to see, because there's not always going to be
Mhm.
sometimes in your life, some seasons, people are not going to come to you with opportunities. Sometimes you'll have to create your own spaces, carve out an existence for where you want to be, even when people tell you no, because sometimes you have to walk through some closed doors as well. So the reason why I created Be and Me is because I wanted to see a space where creatives who were not as known, the people who weren't your renowned, gospel singers or faith-based artists or whatever, the people who weren't your Jackie Hill Perry's, and I love Jackie Hill Perry. She's like one of my favorite people, but everyone is not going to have the influence or engagement and the audience and fan base that she has, because it is a process. But if no one ever gives you a stage to stand on to present it, or if you're doing your art in a dark room where you don't have an audience, your chances of really getting the exposure and reaching the people that God may intend for you to reach are slim. So that's the reason why I founded Beautiful Minds Entertainment. I actually wanted to give a voice to more artists, because Felicia, how you will hear such a talented person and you'll be like, whoa, why aren't your mind will literally
Right.
be blown. You're like, where have I been? Why haven't I known about this person? Those are the people that we try to really give opportunities for exposure to through BME. So it's basically artist resources and opportunities, mostly performing artists. So like your poets, your singers, your musicians, comedians, things like that. We
Mhm.
host an open mic every third Sunday of the month. And actually, this month we're going to have an open mic that's for comedy as well, coming on the fifth Sunday. So I'm excited about that. That flyer will be dropping shortly. But other than that, we just really want to build an artist network where people can access people who are really, really dope, but you may have never heard of them before. So
Great.
we just wanted to give more people a voice. And so that's what we're doing now.
I
Yeah.
love it. And you said, but when you started talking, you said sometimes there's not a space already created, and you have to create the space.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I think sometimes we look for mentorship, or we're looking to model something else when really, and we never find it, right? Because we are the person that's supposed to be creating
You
the.
are it.
You are
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You are the blueprint. You're supposed to do this first. And so I love to see that in action. Like when you kind of hear all these different phrases, and you are it, and you have to create the space. But then when you actually see it in action, I think it's so powerful. So now, in
Absolutely.
addition to BME, you're also a part of the duo for the Single Wife Life. Shout out
Mm-hmm.
to this Joy, who couldn't be with us tonight, but we want to
Yes,
bring her on.
Candace.
Um, so yeah, just first of all, tell us about the Single Wife Life. Tell us how you all connected, why you started it, and then we'll go into some other things.
So here's the thing, y'all. Singleness is a whole is a whole thing. So if you are in the church and you've been in the church, or you are serious about your faith, marriage, as you know, is a very big part of the faith, because let's just be honest, you can't really do a lot. You ain't supposed to. Now some of y'all
You're not
be out here
supposed to
that you
do a
ain't,
lot.
but you ain't supposed to really be out here doing the most, as if you ain't really got no ring. So it can be very challenging to navigate singleness, especially if you are a believer, because so much emphasis is put on marriage. And for,
Hmm.
marriage is great. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a reflection of Christ in the church. So we understand why, like, we get it. But, like, how are you navigating your singlehood in your 20s and 30s? because
Right.
let's just be honest, people are getting older and they're maintaining their singleness even into those ages, and as a woman especially, that can be even more challenging, I would say, in my opinion, because so much pressure is put on us, like, well, why you don't have a
Right.
man, like, is there something wrong
Right.
with, and like I mean, I'm just hanging out. Like, what do you mean? Like, what I'm
Right.
supposed to
Right.
do? So I really feel like representation is needed, and I think more positive stories are
Mhm.
needed about singleness. Like, singleness is not some type of prison sentence or, some type of really negative state to be in. The Bible talks about singleness actually being the preference. So the
Mm.
thing is, because you're able to commit 100% of your life to the Lord, and you don't have that distraction of like, oh, I have to feed my children, or I have to
Right.
whatever. So it's a blessed season. Not that one is better, but it's a very blessed season because you get to give your attention to the Lord. So Candace was a friend of mine, actually. I've known Candace for years, and I had this vision of this thing that was called the single wife. And I don't know why, I had this vision of that. And then I had saw that Candace had started this thing, Valentine's Day of 2019. She just posted up on Instagram this group called the Single Wife Live. And I was like, hold on, what is that? Because the Lord has been speaking to me similar things. And so since we were friends, I just called her up and I'm like, hey girl, what is this? Like, what are you
Mhm.
seeing? What are you hearing? And she was so kind, because she was just like, I don't know what the Lord wants this to be, but I'm willing to go the distance and see. And since we both had, and Candace is this in the same as me, as like, we just have a heart for single women because we
Mhm.
understand that, like, we get that is us. So we linked up and we just made this awesome network of women, this awesome community of women called the Single Wife Life. So we have our Instagram account, which we try to make sure positive and relatable content goes on there, and we also have a Facebook network of women, which is smaller, so that we can have more intimate conversations. And we did a meetup in DC. We did a meetup in North Carolina, because I'm in DC and Candace is in North Carolina, and we look at different areas so that we can serve women on a worldwide basis. So basically, we're not trying to be like every other women empowerment. We're really trying to
Mhm.
speak from a place of like, hey, singleness, one, is positive, a positive experience. We're not all depressed, one, and then two, like, how are you managing that transition from singleness into just preparing yourself to be a wife, but not being overtaken by it, that desire. So that's what we really pay attention to and really try to center ourselves on. And it's been a really, really great journey. We've been doing it it's been a little over a year. We just had our anniversary in February.
Oh, really? I don't know why I thought it was longer than that.
I
Um,
know it feels like it, but no, girl, we barely made over a year. And so, yeah.
yeah, I love that because, like you said, it's like, so I'm older than y'all think I am, right? And people are like, when you gonna get
Are
married?
you?
Oh, I am. When you gonna get married? When you having kids? I'm like,
Can
can
I
I just
live
be?
though?
Right?
Can
Can I just
I?
be? And yeah, I just think the message that singleness is a blessed time is great because there is so much pressure on women, especially in the church, to be married. Like, and I understand it's that's a great season, but we want to enjoy the season that we're in too. So
Absolutely.
I love the mission, and when we connected, because I met Candace
And we
years
actually met
ago.
through the Single Wife
Yeah,
Life, me and you.
yep.
Yeah.
We met through the single wife life, and I just love it. And I was like, I'm in whatever y'all are doing. I want to help. So I'm excited about it. And then at the end, we can kind of share all the information where people can stay connected with you. But talk
Absolutely.
about, you're involved with Single Wife Life. You've been, doing your artistry for 10 plus years. You have your business. What role has faith played in this whole entire journey for you?
A really huge one, actually. And I know that everyone is not the same as far as religion and spirituality goes. I know that people have different religions, different ways of worshiping or not worshiping at all. But faith is such a huge part of everything that I do, because I'm not one of those people that's like a halfway person.
Mhm.
If I believe something is true, I'm gonna live my life according to that belief. I think a lot of times we say that we're devoted to something, and we really just like the idea of it. For
Mm.
me, faith is the thing in which I base every single decision, every single. And don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not perfect. There are times when I go my own way and make my own decisions, and the Lord be like, "Run that back." But at the same time, I try, because of how good God has been to me, and my own personal relationship with Him. I try to make sure that the things that I'm doing actually line up, with the Word, and that they are something that God has orchestrated for my life. Because honestly, if the steps of a righteous man or woman are ordered by the Lord, then you would need to talk to Him to know what those steps are, right? So that's how I tend to take that. So faith has been a huge part, and I believe, um, just speaking to a lot of my audience, a lot of the people who I serve in the business, the BME and single wife life and everything like that, they are looking for how this is done. Like, how is it done that you're able to make it every single day, still living this life, still being faithful? And I think we need each other. We need each other's conversation, dialogue, stories to really be encouraged in that journey. So it's been super helpful. I've learned a lot through my interactions with other people, conversations, businesses,
Mhm.
networking. And then also, I just really enjoy being able to give that knowledge to others, because I'm in my 30s as well. Like, I'm not new to living a faith-based life. So it helps me to be able to help other people and be like, oh no, girl, you don't have to settle. You don't have to not do your business. You don't have to, you
Right.
can actually have the things that God said that you can have. It's just about how determined you are to get there, and how much you are willing to follow the plan of God for your life. So a
Yeah.
huge impact.
And so you mentioned not settling, and I think sometimes we feel like we have to settle in certain areas, or we can't, do the business and be faithful to God, or and do all the things that God has necessarily placed in our heart. So
Hmm.
to that person who might be feeling like, okay, I'm ready to settle, or I'm ready just to give up on this vision or this business, or even, giving up on my family, whatever that is for that person, what would you say to someone who was just really on the brink of giving up?
You know what? I would send them back to the reason why they want it in the first place, honestly. I think sometimes we have to do a self check, a self
Mm,
evaluation, because you could easily get tired out. I mean, being thrown into a pool and you're swimming, you can only swim for so long before you have to get
right.
out of it. So I would say two things. I would say, just revisiting why that thing is important, and are you still being led in the same thing? And it can't be like a decision based on I'm tired, because you can get out the pool and come back in. Like, the pool's
That's so
there and
good.
you can get out, rest, come back in and continue to swim. It would have to be like, hey, is this actually what I was meant to do? Um, ask yourself deeper questions like that. Do other people see me doing this, and are they being blessed by what I'm doing? And just really take it, and I would say take it one moment at a time. The reason why we stop is because we're discouraged, we quit in the middle of the discouragement. And I saw this sermon by Pastor Michael Todd the other day that was very helpful, and he was just like, talking about the pit, and how when you fall into it, then it's really easy to just stop because you're in a pit,
Mhm.
right? You don't want to, like, you've been faithful maybe, and you're in the pit. The pit's going to come, like, whether you deserve it or not. Job didn't deserve it, Joseph didn't deserve it, but they all fell into a pit. And so sometimes you have to wait it out, climb out, rest, try again. So I would say just take that minute to really rest, to really give give
Mhm.
yourself time, and forgive yourself for not, like, getting everything right. Because, like we said before, it takes some time. And then I would also encourage you to have a support system. I mean, people underestimate the power of having someone kind of walk through things with you. And that doesn't have to be 10, 15, 20 people. That can just be one other business owner, one other person that's going through hell in their family, one other person that has gone through a heartbreak or a bad relationship. That can be anyone that you can really exchange information with, and that can be praying for you. That's always helpful, because some things we are called to go through alone, but a lot of things we aren't. That's why we were put
Mhm.
here with other people, other faith-based people and
Mhm.
communities. We have a lot of content and resources that we can use to inspire and continue to encourage us. So look for the light wherever you can find it, guys. Even when the darkness tries to swallow you up, look for wherever there's light and really sit in those places so that you can get what you need to continue on.
Yeah, I love that. And there's always going to be light, even in the pit. And I love that you said the pit is going to come. I think I don't want to sound too harsh when I say this, but I think sometimes there's a misconception that because we have faith or because we're believers that we're not going to, experience hard times or
We don't
experience
want to experience nothing, girl. We Listen, if the Lord give us
it's
any
going to
sort of hard time,
come.
we mad. We mad. We
Yeah,
like, Dad, how can you do that to me? I don't get it.
it's a part of the process. And I think once we kind of accept that and even just shift our mindset around those moments that seem dark and really look at it for what it could be, like a lesson or a time to rest or whatever it is, there can be a lesson in everything that you go through. And so when we shift our mindsets and our perspectives about it, I think that's when we can be restored and refreshed and strengthened to keep going. So I love
Yeah.
that you said that.
And also understand that sometimes you won't, it will be bad. Like sometimes you will be, I think I think depression is a consistent like feeling, but I'm saying there'll be some days when it will not be. No one will understand how your heart was
Mhm.
broken. No one will
Yeah.
understand how that thing affected you. And my thing is that like, because I've experienced those moments when like people were preaching or saying something good, or someone was coming alongside me and giving me positive stuff, and it didn't penetrate because I had just
Right.
so much pain, so experience that was traumatizing. Here, the thing is though, continue to be faithful even when you don't feel like you're being covered, protected, because the healing comes. It doesn't seem like it is when you're in the pit, when you're in that moment, but eventually it does come, and you notice a difference, like, oh, okay,
Right.
I can feel joy, I can feel that light. So I would say just definitely be faithful, because it doesn't always look like sunshine and roses, that's for sure. I
Yeah.
can tell you from experience, but the Lord is faithful, and He's definitely going to bring you through whatever He puts you in. So hold on. If you can't do
Yes.
nothing else, find the light, but also hold
Hold
on
on.
until you can. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't take anything else away from this interview, hold on. Because God is
Keep
faithful.
going, girl. Keep going, guy. Whatever.
Yes.
Do it.
I love that. I love that. So I always like to ask what your readings. I believe reading can be very beneficial. So is there anything that you are reading that you would recommend others to read?
You know what? I read this book called Manhood by Terry Crews a few months ago, and it was a really awesome book. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. I think I like to understand things that are not like me. So,
Mm,
me coming from the women experience, and I think a lot of other women can identify with this. You tend to have your experience, and it could be totally different from a man's. And so sometimes we are convinced that they're not like us. Like, oh, you're
mhm.
so different from me that it's very hard for me to understand you. And then we get defensive or bitter, worse, right?
True.
So I enjoy reading things from a male perspective. I read Terry Crews's Manhood, so I would definitely recommend that. I enjoyed that book a lot. I like mystery thriller books and movies and things like that. So I've always, read like John Grisham and things like that. I'm not one of those people who's like super into the self-help books. Now I'll
Mhm.
listen to podcast sermons, things like that, but I like my books to be like really good stories. Like there's a Judy P. Colt. She wrote My Sister's Keeper. There's a movie. I like those types of books.
Mhm.
So it don't have to be everything's not deep with me. Like I might not read the self-help stuff, but
Yeah.
I definitely read a lot of things that are related to understanding scripture. I like those
Mhm.
books, but other than that, it's not deep with me. I like the stories. I like the riveting stuff. So I'm gonna read the mystery thrillers, the fiction stuff. But check out Manhood. That's a really good book. I haven't checked out Relationship Goals yet, but I do plan on getting it because I think it's really good information for how to manage dating. And I don't see it a
Yeah.
lot. I don't see people really giving that vital information of how to navigate that life. And I'm all about that. So I'll check out that one. But I always say just do what makes you happy. I'm a sucker for the covers. Like if you're an author, I
Yes.
need to have a cover that grabs my attention. I actually hate when people, because you could have a really amazing book, but if no one opens it up to read it. So
Exactly.
I love covers. Like you have to have a good cover, you have to have a good title. So those books always catch my attention. Also, there's another book. I think it's called When God Doesn't Fix It. I have
Mm,
to look, but I believe it's called When God Doesn't Fix It, and it is so inspiring. It's about a lady whose husband became paralyzed, and it's the lady who wrote the song "I Can Only Imagine."
mm,
I think that's the one she wrote, or Indescribable. No, Indescribable she wrote, which is like a super amazing song. And her husband was actually paralyzed, and like, how do you even deal with that? You marry a person, they're not paralyzed, and in the middle they
right.
become paralyzed. So stories about overcoming as well. Yeah, I would say check that out too.
That's good. I always love to hear what people are reading. I'm like one of those people who can just literally, if y'all gave me books and just left me at home, I would be okay. And I would just read all that. Seriously.
Yeah, books and music. Music is my life. So
Yeah,
anything
books. Yeah,
Spotify has
music.
saved my life during quarantine, girl. Spotify is my bestie.
Listen, music will get you through. So add that to the list. Add some
Yeah.
music to the list. So, Paul Cleveland, he said, that's exactly why I'm here to hear women's perspective. So, really quick before we wrap up, since he's here to hear the woman's perspective, we've talked a little bit about single wife
Oh, hey,
life
Paul.
and dating. So, what do you think, or what are maybe one or two things that you would share to the men, um, just from a woman's perspective, that they may not know as it relates to dating as a woman of faith?
Woo! Yes, let's get into it. So, men, first of all, men have no idea how much women really enjoy them. I think because of, okay, you know how like anything negative that you experience is kind of going to take over like the little positive things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like men get a lot of vocalization from us that's not very positive just because,
True.
it's kind of like the negative stuff really does affect you a lot more than maybe the little positive things. And for someone in the faith, if we're talking about women who are faith based, we are most, and every woman is not the same, but most of us are not going to be super aggressive with you. We will sit back and chill because like us we've been taught in the church that that's what we're supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
so I would say do your research. I really think that, guys, if you would like to get to know women better, if you would like to even prepare more for your wife, or if there's a girl that you check in for and you like, oh, she is fly, but I just need to like whatever, I would say really just do your research. I love when men do their research, because we don't like to be approached from a general perspective. Every woman is not the same. So you
Mm-hmm.
probably, from my perspective, I don't want you using the same thing on me that you use on everyone else.
Okay.
Like if you know that something is specific to me, if you know I like a certain thing, and it's really easy. We have social media. Like it's not like it's hard. You get to look at her whole profile, just scroll up. Like, I
Exactly.
would say try to approach her with something very specific to her. We don't have a problem with other women, even if we're not like super catty. We just don't want to be lumped into every other woman because it's like the way that Christ really really loves us is very individualized. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know what you need. I know what your purpose is. Like this is what I'm going to say to you. Like I'm going to prophesy this word to you. So I would
Right.
say as a man, try to imitate Christ in that way of like, hey, I want to approach you as an individual, not like all women are the same or whatever. And I know sometimes the way women express ourselves, we lump all men into the same box.
So,
But I think just being yourself and showing that like you are paying specific attention and comfortable goes an incredibly long way. And even if you are, I won't say rejected, but I'll just say like even if like the woman doesn't seem interested, I feel like I honestly believe a man can get any woman he wants, as long as he's consistent, and um, yeah, persistent. I honestly believe that. Now, if we're just talking about what I want men to know generally, I would just say really be a guardian over your sisters. I think being a
Mm,
good man has to do with how you treat women on a whole. So if you are not protective when it comes to your sisters or even your sisters in Christ or even your mother, those are some places where you can kind of get to know women, so that you can learn how to be identify more with who you are in God, which is a protector and a provider according to scripture. So I would definitely encourage that. Learn how to like engage with women beyond how they look or,
mm,
what you want from them, and really start. Like I have a few brothers who have covered me and protected me in ways like, hey, are you good? Do you need something? Like,
right.
can I pray for you? Like those, relationship with God is directly related to you leading a woman. And if you don't really have a relationship with God, it would probably benefit you to really get in between that, because it's God, it's the man, and it's the woman. So you're not really going to be prepared to lead a woman if God is really not leading you. So it doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to look like you speaking in tongues, because sometimes men think women want men who are like so deep that like he always speaking tongues or he's
Oh
like
my
praying on your
God.
forehead. No. We want a forehead kiss, but we still want you to be
Woo.
saved. We don't want you smoking
Right.
weed, and we don't want you to be a heathen. But
Right.
like we have grace for you if how
Oh my
you worship
gosh.
don't look the same as us, because we like manly men. So you don't gotta always be like, but we just don't want to be the only ones being spiritual in the relationship.
Absolutely.
That's a turn off for us, because we don't trust that you can lead us well.
Woo. Listen, I'm not even going to say nothing else. What she said. Okay. I'm not even going to follow up
So I
everything
hope
she
that was
said.
helpful.
It was, and it was very on point. So, gentlemen, I hope you were listening and taking notes. Okay.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
so good. That was so good.
Chandler, stop.
So, let us know what you have coming up. I know you talked about some things in the beginning, but just let us know with Single Wife Life and BME, just some things you have coming up, and then how people can stay connected with you.
Oh, absolutely. First, thank you so much for this interview. This has been great. I enjoy talking to you so much. Y'all make sure y'all seeking
It
God and
was
slaying y'all
good.
goals. Holla. But so I love so much that you asked me to do this. I'm always very honored when anyone wants to know any parts of my story. So, and shout out to everyone who's joining. I can't see you guys, but please be my friend. Connect with me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm even on Twitter. So you can connect with me there. All of them at Canden Webb, which is my name, CandenWebb. So you can find me there. For Beautiful Minds, you can learn more at bmartistry.com. For Single Wife Life, it's thesinglewifelife.com. And then also, we're dropping an episode of The Conversation with P4CM. Any of y'all that know Passion for Christ Ministries, we're dropping an episode of The Conversation, which was used to be hosted by Yvonne Orji from Insecure. She used to host the episodes, but me and Jennifer Trotter are bringing it back, and we're going to discuss some really relevant issues for single millennials in the faith. And that first episode, called Boundaries in Dating, is dropping this Thursday on the YouTube on
Oh, nice.
P4CM's YouTube. So check that out. Tell us what you think about that. But I'm all for engagement. I say all the time, I'm here for the comments. So if y'all have something y'all want to say to me, I'm always there checking it out. Like, girl, what you got? So
Oh my
yeah, just drop
God.
me a line. I'm very down to earth. I love to hear people's stories to talk. So let's stay connected.
Absolutely. Definitely make sure you guys connect with Kendra. And thank you for saying yes to the interview because everybody don't say yes. So thank you for coming on. It was it was fun. We'll definitely have to do it again. Paul said this was good. Thank you so much, Paul, for tuning in and everybody else that tuned in. If you are not connected with us, Seek God Slay Goals, make sure you connect with us. We have a private Facebook group. It's called the Seek God Slay Goals Movement. And then we're also on Facebook and Instagram at Seek God Slay Goals. And so this pop-up season of the Slay Goals interview is going to be every Monday and Friday in May. So we
Oh,
have five more. Yep, every Monday and Friday. So we will be back here on Friday with another guest. So definitely tune in, share. And thank you guys for tuning in. Canden will definitely have to do this again. And you all
Yes.
have a blessed, blessed evening and stay safe.
Like,
Stay safe. Love you guys.
yes.
Bye bye.